Okay, let's do this all over again. It's live. So hi. Happy New Year. Well, happy New Year with Tiffany Talks. I know it's been the new year for a couple of months, but happy New Year from Tiffany Talks. And your girl is back and she's better than ever. You know, I can't say that every day's been a good day, but hey, I made it. You made it to see me, and I'm grateful for that. I wanted to send some major shout outs today to not only all of you who subscribe, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and make sure you share this information because real conversations are going to be happening this spring every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. What did I say? 8 p.m. Eastern, where you are a part of the conversation. And guess what? Tonight, I wanted to start this season off with something that means so much, so dear. Can I talk to you for a minute in real time? We're still going through a pandemic here, folks, if you haven't understood that. And I have taken a bittersweet front seat of what a pandemic looks like through my family, through my friends, through my business as a life insurance broker, through every aspect. At some point, I wrote a book at the beginning of this pandemic. And what's so interesting about this book, let me tell you, start somewhere. This wasn't my first book. This was actually my second book, and God told me to release this book, which is Broken. Now, this book, when I go through the book and I just started reading my own book after it's been published, I realized that it was a prophecy to let people know that we were going to go through a time, and you don't know who's going to go through this time, who's going to be in grief, because you, could be praying for someone one day and have those prayers returned back. Do you hear me? I probably, with my business being in life insurance, with my family, with my friends, I know for a fact I have witnessed over 100 deaths. Now, before the pandemic, I said I had went to 100 funerals. Now, this point of the pandemic, I don't even know what to call this stage of grief. But what I do know is people have lost a lot. They have lost more than their jobs. They have lost more than their homes. They have lost more than material things. They have lost their family. And tonight, I have a young lady here. Her name is Ketrice Keys. She's a 7-time best-selling author, but she's an entrepreneur, and she's going to give you a first-hand account what it looks like to lose so many members of your immediate family, but not only lose so many members of her immediate family. I'm not going to take too much from her story, but let me sum this up for you. One day, in the morning, she lost her sister. In the afternoon, she lost her father. Did you hear me? But yet, this woman, every single morning, gets up, inspire other people, motivate. Sorry, not only get to the next level, but she's also inspiring people to what faith looks like, what perseverance looks like, what triumph. I can call her any day of the week and she has some encouragement to pour into me. Not only was she on my first experience of becoming a international best-selling author, she has encouraged me and so many other women, and this is Women's Month, to just keep moving, just keep fighting. And I want to go behind because this is her first interview, since not only I just told you part of the story during this pandemic, and if it's more, please tell me. She first lost her brother-in-law, which was her sister's husband. A couple of weeks later, she lost her sister. In that same day, she lost her brother. And before Christmas, she lost her mother. All young. You think you're having a bad day? There are people out here who really have had bad days. But I'm glad that this sister said, I won't complain. And she's here to share her story, how not only how faith looks, but how surviving through the pandemic with her faith looks. Tonight, I bring to you Miss Ketrice Keys. Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
Tiffany, how are you?
I am so fine, and I am so blessed to have you on this platform because I know, you was doing some interviews, honey, every week, and then life happened,
Yeah,
grief happened, and let's start because this is be a very intimate show. I don't want to be too emotional, but every time I begin to think of you, my eyes water up because I'm like, okay, Tiffany, you can keep going. Look at Catrice, keep going, sis, keep going.
keep
You
going.
know,
That's it.
but you've been through so much pain and the power that you found within that pain, day
Yeah,
in and day
yeah,
out. Like
yeah.
first, let's start by how you started the book with Forged by Fire. Um,
Okay. So first and foremost, Tiffany, thank you for reaching out to me and having me on your show. I'm so grateful. Um, so Forged by Fire came out in June of last year, which was 2021. I was given the unctioning by God to release the book November of that prior year, and I put the call for authors out around February, March of 2021. And the title of it, of course, was Forged by Fire, Built God Tough. And the crux of the book was for women to come together and share their stories of fiery trials and tribulations and how God took them through those trials and delivered them through those trials. Of course, with the book, at that time, my sister and our relationship was torn apart. And I didn't even mention to her that I was going to do the book. I just, started putting my call for authors out. And she happened to see one of the graphics, and she called me and she asked me, "What are you doing? What is this book you're doing?" And I, told her about it and asked her if she wanted to come aboard. Well, at that time, she said, not sure about it. She was kind of in between, yes and no. And so I just kept getting a nudge from God to keep reaching out to her and asking her, when are you going to sign up? When are you going to jump on this project? And so she finally did. And that was the process of our healing, of our restoration of our relationship. And of course, like you said,
can
the
you
book
stop
came
right
out in
there?
June. Yeah,
Can you
go
stop
ahead.
right there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Go
but
ahead.
you said something that I didn't even know or have knowledge to. You said you and your sister's relationship was torn,
Yes.
and you mean to tell me it came together by a book?
Yes. By me saying yes to God,
Oh, okay.
yeah, by me saying yes to God, because like I said, He had been unctioning me to do this anthology, and I just kept, saying no. I didn't want to do it because I knew the weight of it, I knew the heaviness of it, and I'm the type of person that does not want to mishandle God's people. And I just kept saying, God, I just don't think I'm ready to do this, and He just kept saying to me, yes, you are. So go ahead and start the project, and so I did. And yeah, my sister and our relationship was torn apart. It had been torn apart for quite a few years. Um, she went her way, I went my way. Of course, we would come together for holidays and things of that nature, but it was always a pull in two different directions. And there's a lot of backstory behind that will come out later in future projects that I'll be doing. But by me saying yes to the project and then her saying yes to the project, our relationship was restored through Forged by Fire, Built God Tough. Um, we would get on the phone and we would, I would coach her through writing. Um, we would resolve issues that we had in those phone calls.
Mm,
Um, it was just amazing how God set the whole thing up. And also during the time of me doing this book, I was praying to God and telling Him, God, I need some women in my life who are prayer warriors, some women in my life who, when I can't pray for myself, somebody that's going to be there and pray for me, somebody that's going to pick up the phone and push me, in the spiritual aspect of things. And so with this project, that is what happened, Tiffany. God surrounded me with women like yourself. Um, that were prayer warriors, that believed in the power of prayer, that had faith and things of that nature. And so in June we released the book, and of course we became #1 international best-selling authors. We were excited about it. My sister was excited about it simply because she was a singer, and she always
Mm-hmm.
thought that she would reach the masses and the nations by her singing, which she did, but she was never fulfilled in that. And so, with the writing of her story in the book, she acknowledged that she realized that she came into her own with the writing. She said it was a healing process for her. Needless to say, we made a whole bunch of plans and we were excited about
Well, can
collaborating
I
on.
stop you right there?
Yeah,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead,
stop
go
you
ahead.
right there. So, okay. So you have the book. When you
Hmm.
have the book, the first quarter, the first 6 months of the year, you're working
Yes,
on different projects and everything. And all I know is in July, end of July, somewhere, because I remember I was on a trip.
yeah,
You said, "Pray
yeah,
for my family. My
yeah,
whole family has COVID."
yeah. Well, what really kicked it off is in July,
Okay.
actually July 17th, my sister
Hmm.
lost her husband,
Right.
and it was unexpected. He
Hmm.
didn't have COVID. He had a massive heart attack at the age of
Okay.
42. And so that was July 17th. She called me and she told me that her husband had passed, and it was just devastating. It was something that we hadn't prepared for. She wasn't ready for, and I saw the hand of God in that, because if he had not restored our relationship prior to, then she would not have had me to lean on, which she did, and she reached out to me. She said, "I just need you to be here for me." And of
Mm.
course I was like, "Okay, whatever you need, that's what I'll do for you." Okay. And so we buried him on July 24th.
Mhm.
Um she lived in a they lived in a pretty nice sized home, and she didn't want to remain in that home by herself anymore. So we got together first part of August to move her out of her home into a smaller apartment. And the way we all contracted COVID, Tiffany, is my son-in-law and my daughter had gone to his uncle's house, and his cousin had COVID, and they were not aware of it. And so they came to help us move my sister, and then that's how we all come in contact with COVID. So July, my brother-in-law passed. August, the end of August, we all were diagnosed with COVID. Um,
Mhm.
my sister, myself, my mom, my dad, my daughter, her husband, they're twins, my daughter, and my dad. We all, and my brother, we all ended up COVID positive.
Stop. Can you stop right there?
And
Can you
yeah,
stop
go
right?
ahead.
I'm gonna stop you
Mhm.
every now and then because I know you
Yeah.
going. It's some parts that I grasp as you let us
Yeah.
into this journey, this intimate journey behind
Mhm.
scenes. And you never said you had COVID until after it was all over. But immediately you said, "Hey, y'all, can y'all pray for my sister? Can you pray for my dad? Can you pray for my mom?" Not saying everybody else because you just put, and I'm just trying to paint the picture of how you came. Like you didn't even say, "I'm sick, Tiffany." You didn't start telling me how sick you were until you're two. And I don't want to rush the story until the ending of the story. But keep
Yeah.
moving here. So
Yeah.
remind you, she's coming and she's communicating. She's posting on Facebook telling people. First she said to intimate women, "Hey, pray for my family, pray for my family, pray for my family." For weeks. It was for days, every day. And then keep going. That's
Yeah.
right. Hold on. Queen Cole said a selfless word. That's right. A selfless warrior.
Yeah, I pretty much put myself on the back burner, and I
Mhm.
said, yeah, pray for my sister, pray for my mom, pray for my dad, because I knew that they had underlying conditions that I didn't have. They had all battled cancer. Um, they had hypertension.
Mhm.
My sister and my dad had heart problems, so they were just overwhelmed with underlying conditions. And so I just immediately just reached out to, first and foremost, Forged by Fire, Built God Tough, our women's group, and said, I need for you all to go, in prayer for my family. Not even realizing at the time how sick I was. And so it just kind of spiraled down from there. I ended up in the hospital myself September 1st. My mom and dad were in the same, we were all in the same facility. My sister lived in Hammond, so she was in a facility in Hammond. And when I ended up in the hospital, Tiffany, I was so sick at that time, I couldn't even pray for them. I couldn't even pray for myself, at that time. And there's bits and pieces of it that I don't remember because I was so sick.
And let me just stop you. And so let me stop you 1 second. And so as you were going through this and we were talking about it, because I remember one morning I just woke up every time I'm like, I told him, call Catrice, because my uncle was really sick. My uncle was really sick and he lost his battle. And that was the week that your sister was really sick. And my uncle passed the week before that. And he lost his battle. And you pick back up to that last week with your sister. Right there.
Okay, so I was hospitalized on the 1st. I came out of the hospital on the 6th. And that's when I realized how sick my sister was. While I was hospitalized, I had no clue how sick she was, My daughter, my oldest daughter, was speaking with the doctors and all of that with my sister because nobody else could at the time. And so when I came out of the hospital and they said she's on a ventilator and, we're doing everything we can for her. We would get good reports, and then some days it would just be, bleak, grim. And so on September 11th, of course, now we're thinking, she's in the ICU. They're not letting anybody in. She can't have visitors. So all we can do is talk to the doctors, and they tell us what they're doing. So on September 11th, the doctor called me and said, you all need to come. We don't think she's going to be here much longer. And so my brother and myself went to Hammond to see her. And immediately when I saw her, I just said, God, if you're not going to heal her, please take her, because it was so bad, Tiffany. It was so bad. And I remember going in the room. Mind you, I'm still weak and sick myself. I remember going in the room and grabbing her hand. And I remember whispering in her ear, I said, baby, if you're ready to go home, you go home. I said, we're going to be okay. And just looking at her, I knew that she could not last like that much longer. And so they allowed myself and my brother to stay with her the majority of the day, which we were only supposed to be there 45 minutes to sign paperwork, but something triggered them to say that you all can stay. So we stayed about 6 or 7 hours with her. And then they told us that, we're sorry, you're going to have to leave. And so we did, we left and we said our goodbyes. And then on September 12th at 1:00 a.m., I got a phone call. And they told me that my sister was gone. And that crushed me. That crushed me, Tiffany. To think that we had just gotten back our relationship and she was gone. And then I thought about the fact that I had to tell my mom that her baby was gone. And that crushed me even more. But somehow, God granted me the strength to be able to sustain and to be able to go to my mom and tell her that my sister was gone. But let me back up for just a minute, because before we got to the hospital to my mom, we're on the way to the hospital to tell my mom that my sister's gone. And I get a phone call from the hospital and say, your dad's not looking good. Doesn't look like he's going to be here much longer. And they had already told my mom that, it didn't look like my dad was going to, make it much longer. So this is us on our way to the hospital. So we arrive at the hospital. My brother and I go in the room with my mom. And so with her already expecting for my dad to pass, she looks at me and she says, your dad is gone? Because she knew it was something because we were there and they wasn't letting her have visitors. And I said, no, ma'am, he's not. And I just looked at her and she looked up at me and she said, Nika's gone? And I said, yes, ma'am, she's gone. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, is to tell my mama that her baby had crossed over.
Right.
And with her being in the condition she was in, and I had people telling me, you shouldn't tell your mom that. But at that time, Tiffany, my mom was still able to get on Facebook and she was still interacting with people. Right. And there was no way that I was going to be able to keep that from her. She was going to see it and hear it somewhere. And I didn't want her to have to hear that from someone else. And so my brother and I went there and we told her that Nika was gone. And of course, that was hard for her because that was her baby, Right. And, we stayed there with her. They were ready to give her medication because they thought she was just going to fall apart, but we prayed and she held it together. And she said, we're going to get through this. This is my mom talking to me. We're going to get through this. And, and so, then, like I said,
can you stop right
there?
Go
ahead.
Just take a break. Just take a break. Because I knew this was going to be an emotional show. That's why I waited for so long for it. But I'm so blessed to have you on because it's so real. I told you I'm going to give you real conversations. And let's just set the pace on this Sunday morning, because as I'm sitting here watching my uncle on virtual, his funeral, you sitting up here texting to about Sharnika. And let me just give you a history of who Sharnika was. I flashed a picture of it, but I began to know her, and this show is dedicated to her, and it's dedicated for everybody who lost somebody during the pandemic, because I know you are at a great loss. I don't look over it. I don't look around it. I'm just right here through it with you. And I'm empathetic to the situation. So, that day, Sharnika, when upon meeting her or whatnot, I was going through something in my own personal life as, a lot of different things, but her personality, she was a music teacher. And she said, I know you my sister, your kids, my kids. I said, okay, I'm gonna send them to Mississippi then if they your kids. So when you say, let's cover the first half of what she just told y'all. She said her sister's relationship was broken. They came back together through a project that God placed upon her heart, not only to bring her sister back, but not knowing that it was going to bring me here too. you know.
Wow.
So it brought so many things out of that one vision.
It did.
You
It did,
understand?
Tiffany.
That one seed, it just flourished, and people think you can't do nothing with one seed. You shouldn't
Yes,
have
you
to worry
can.
about nobody else seeing Catrice out here, because you had one.
Yeah.
And that thing grew. That thing grew into
Yeah.
a 7-time bestseller. I think you was at 2 when I met you. So I got some work to do, y'all. I have some work to do. Look, I'm at 2. You was at 2. You at 7 in 1 year. So continue
Yeah.
your story of how this day changed and reshaped your whole life and your perspective of what you thought grief was from
Yeah.
one morning to one afternoon.
Exactly. Exactly. So we finished up talking to Mama about Nika, and then we go to visit my dad, my brother and I, and my dad's not well at all. I mean, it's just just touch and go, just anytime. And so we left the hospital to go get something to eat, I believe, and we were gone for about 15 minutes. And I get a phone call from the nurse, and she says, your dad has passed. Within 12 hours, I lost my sister, and then I lost my dad. And then we had to go back to my mama's room and tell her that her husband was gone.
Mm.
And we go back in, and she just looks up at me again, and she says, your dad is gone. And I say, yes, ma'am. He's gone. And at that time, my brother and I are trying to be strong for her. But at the same time, I'm saying to God, I don't know how much more I can take.
Mm.
I said, God, you're going to have to give me a supernatural strength to be able to stand and do what it is that we're going to have to stand and do. Because my mind is turning, even while I'm in the room with my mama, because I'm saying, okay, I know she's not going to be able to do anything as far as funeralization, making arrangements, nothing.
Right.
How are we going to do this? How are we going to bury my sister and my daddy? And we don't have our mama to lean on.
Mm.
And so she just told my brother and myself, she said, y'all do what you got to do. I'm going to do what I got to do to get well. And she said, y'all stick together. And so that was Sunday, September 12th. September 14th, just 2 days after they passed, we're on our way to the funeral home to make arrangements. And I get a phone call. And the doctor says, you need to come to the hospital. And I'm like, well, I was going to stop by anyway because I wanted to, kind of ask Mom just a few questions about, trying to make these arrangements. And when I get there, I go in her room, and she's like in a panic. And she's like, have you talked to Dr. Johnson? And I said, no, ma'am, I'm going to talk to him now. And she rushed me out the room, and she said, go find him and talk to him. And so when I get to the desk and I I see him and I'm like, what's going on? And he says to me, it's not that your mom has gotten any worse, but she's not getting any better. And we've done all we can do for her at this facility. Mind you, the facility that we were at is the facility that my mom and I both spent our whole nursing careers working at. And so it's like a family setting. And when he tells me that he has to send her somewhere else, my heart drops because I know that that's not going to be the same level of care that she's getting where she's familiar, if you understand what I'm saying. And then the way things were set up then, you didn't know where your loved ones were going to end up because they didn't have beds anywhere. So wherever they found a bed is where they had to go. And so while he's talking to me, I'm saying, God, you got to make sure she's close enough to home so we can get to her. She's got to be somewhere close. You know, just make her be somewhere close. I'm just, you know, this is what I'm saying in my mind. And so he says, I have no idea where we're going to send her. He said, but I'm going to get on the phone now and I'm going to try to get her as close as I can. He said, I can't make any promises, but I'll try that. And so at this time, Tiffany, she's still on what they call BiPAP. It's just high flow oxygen with a mask, no ventilator. And so they said that what she needs is not ventilation. What she needs is a facility that has even higher flow oxygen. And I'm like, okay, we can do this. So we're at the pushing forward. We're at the funeral home making arrangements. I get a phone call. And the doctor, he tells me, he says, in order for us to transport her, because the helicopters are not flying, it's too windy, the weather's bad. She's going to have to go by ambulance. And we've got to put her on a ventilator. I did not want to hear that. Because from a nursing standpoint, I know that once you go on a ventilator with COVID, it's very rare that you're going to come off. This is just what I know. And so he, you know, I say, well, you know, if this is what has to be done, is she okay with it? He said, I've talked to her. She said she's ready to do whatever she needs to do to get well. And so they put her on the ventilator and they transfer her to a facility on the Gulf Coast, which was okay because I can go to the Gulf Coast every day if I need to. So they're saying she's going to be on the ventilator for 2 days at the max because she just needs her lungs to rest, and we'll be able to take her off. That was September 14th. She fought. She did well. She tried to come off that ventilator. You know, she would have her days, good days. But on November 8th, she lost her battle with COVID. That was on a Monday. I went to see her that Thursday prior. Mind you, she had a trach, so she had to mouth the words. I had to read. You couldn't hear her. I had to read her lips. Now, all up until this time, you know, I'm saying, you're still fighting. She's, yes, giving me thumbs up. I'm fighting. Thursday, she told me, I'm tired. I'm ready to go home. And I knew that she wasn't coming home. And so I told God, Tiffany, I said, God, I'm going to pray your will. Whatever your will is for my mom, that's what I'm praying. And God, she says she's tired. She says she's ready to come home. And if you're ready for her, take her. And I told her the same thing. I said, Mom, if you're tired, you fought well. I said, go home and be with God. Go home and be with your baby and your husband. And so on Monday, November 8th, she went home and be with God.
So it's safe to say that Thanksgiving looked a lot different this year.
Oh my God. A lot different. Everything looks a lot different, Tiffany. My mom was a woman that loved the holidays. Mm-hmm. She loved the decorations, the food. It was just so important for her family to get together. And celebrate and just love on one another. That's just what she liked to do. And so we still did that. We went to her house, my brother and his wife, my husband and my children, and we cooked and we ate, and it was hard, it was different, but we got through it.
So
We got through it.
I have 3 things I want you to do for me. That I'm gonna ask you 3 questions. Well, it's kind of like an action question because I know, I'm sharing you with the world. One of my secret weapons. People say, "Well, how are you getting through this?" And it's not that I'm just getting through. It's just that I keep talking to people like you. You like, Tiffany, keep going, and I see the strength of the women, because it's Women's Month, right? That God has placed upon my life. You understand? Those praying women, it's cool to go out here and party with some women, but it's a whole nother situation when you begin praying with some women, okay? It's a different type of power. And so with that creates a different type of power within myself, which I know you have. So with that, first and foremost, because you said a lot of key things here, and we'll hold them all night. But one thing you said, God used you. What would you tell to people? Because we see a lot of family disputes out here going on from pandemic. It didn't just take away loved ones. People aren't just passing. Families are breaking up. Marriages are breaking up. People, parents and children, siblings, cousins, it's just like a demonic spirit that didn't just attack in every situation. What do you say in regards to in that situation? Because you said a lot of powerful stuff tonight. I can't even go all over this. You said a lot.
The most important thing is forgiveness. And this is a lesson that God has literally taken me by my hand and walked me through. It's to forgive. And I'm telling you, my God, it's on a whole nother level. When you forgive somebody that has not even asked you for forgiveness. And he started me on this forgiveness journey probably 4 years ago with something that transpired in our family. And the person that I had to forgive didn't even ask me for forgiveness. And God told me, I want you to pick up that phone and call him and tell him that you forgive him. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. This is me talking to God. I said, first and foremost, he ain't sorry for what he done. Secondly, he didn't even ask me. He said, that ain't what I told you. I don't care about all that. I need you to pick up that phone and call him and tell him that you forgive him. And I said, well, you're going to have to give me time because I ain't got myself together to do that. He didn't give me that time, Tiffany. I didn't understand what he was doing then. But I had to pick up the phone and I had to do what he told me to do. And I had to mean it. And from that day on, it was like a weight that just lifted off of me. See, the enemy's prime target is family. From the beginning, from the foundation of the world, it was to tear families apart. And we have allowed unforgiveness to set up in our hearts and build up bitterness and hatred and just all types of stuff. And so if I would have anything to say to anyone that's listening out there, if there's something that you're holding on to, just forgive. And so much for believers. We're so quick to say that we want our Father to forgive us. But we hold on to so much, Tiffany. We don't want to forgive anybody. We feel like we are entitled to hold a grudge. We feel like we're entitled because they hurt us. Then I am entitled to hold this grudge. I'm entitled to hold my hatred. And I'm entitled to hold my hurt. You're not. You're not entitled because Scripture tells us if you want the Father to forgive you, you got to first forgive. And so to be able to even tap into the strength that God has for us in times such as these, you have to have a heart that's fleshy enough to accept the strength, and you got to get that from forgiveness and moving all that stuff out of the way. And that stuff keeps your heart stony and hard. But once you let him move all of that stuff out of the way and you got that fleshy heart, he can fill it with so much love. And then he can fill it with the power that you need to sustain you through times such as these. Because had I not forgiven, there'd be no way I would have gotten through this process that I've gone through. Because God wouldn't, he wouldn't owe me that. He wouldn't have to give me that. Because first of all, I was disobedient to him. So
Right.
just be obedient to the voice of God, whatever it is he's telling you to do, whether that be forgive or love, whatever it is he's telling you to, just be obedient. So when you run up and, run into obstacles like this, when you run into fiery trials and tribulations like this, it won't take you out. Because I've had people come to me, countless people, and say, I don't understand how you have done what it is that you've done, how you've buried just about your whole family, and you still have words to give to other people. You still have a smile on your face. And I tell people, it's not because I'm happy, because happy is what happens when things are happening. It's not because I'm happy. It's because I have joy. It's because I have the joy of God is what keeps the smile on my face. Not because I'm happy, because happy comes and goes. But the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord remains if you allow it to remain. And this is what sustains you through times like this. Faith is bigger than my fear. Faith is, the Bible tells us that we should have the faith, the grain the size of a mustard seed. And a lot of people stop at that verse right there. But then God says, once that seed is planted, then it springs up into a big shade tree. I'm talking about a huge tree. So you can have the faith the size of a mustard seed, but why not try to plant that seed and get some bigger faith? You know what I'm saying? And that's what sustains you through times like this. It ain't got nothing to do with who Catrice is. It has something to do with who the God I serve is. Because he's so much bigger than our problems, and he's so much bigger than our grief, and he's so much bigger than our despair. If we'll just hone in on our relationship with him and just really solidify that relationship with him, you'll be able to have the same strength, because it's not my strength.
Right.
It's his strength. That's what sustains us.
Right. And you're absolutely right. As we come to a close of another, which was an awesome show tonight. I'm so glad that you shared your story. Please put your information in the chat on YouTube. Make sure you all subscribe. And, before we wrap up, to those families that are really, really having a hard time, and those people that say, you know what, Ketrice, I hear all that you're saying, but and I know it's still people, no matter how many people that you say, like, I know that's a lot of people in our immediate family, but some people still with just one parent, with just one child or whatever, they have lost hope, because everybody is not at the same point. And that's what I'm understanding. I'm a patient with. And what do you say for those people? Because I read stories all day on social media about grief. People are reaching out and they just like, Tiffany, I'm losing hope out here. I'm losing hope. What do you say? What keeps you going? I know you said the joy of the Lord, but just say some of the things that people are being around people that encourage. Just tell us something in these brief few minutes before we close.
Tiffany, the way I don't lose hope is that I don't place my hope in people. Let me explain that. If we will keep God in the place that he should be in our life, which is number one, if we don't place people above him, then that'll keep us from losing hope, especially when we lose our loved ones. A lot of times that thing is unbalanced. We place our loved ones above God. We don't realize we do, but we do. And when something happens and that loved one is snatched away from us, then we lose hope because we have placed our hope in the wrong person. We placed our hope in the person that was snatched away. If we would keep our hope in God, then He can sustain us through, and we won't lose hope. That's not to say you won't grieve. That's not to say you won't cry. That's not to say you won't hurt, but you won't lose hope because you kept your hope in God. He tells us that we should put our trust and hope in no man, nobody but Him. So when those things happen in our life, because the scripture tells us that we are all born to die. We all got to get out of here. But at some point in our life, we put people up on such a high pedestal. It's like they're never going to leave us. They're always going to be here for us. There's only one person that's never going to leave us and always going to be here for us, and that's God. So if we would just keep our hope in Him and keep people in their rightful place in our life, then when those things happen, we won't lose hope. Now, for those people who don't see it that way and are not at that level yet, then you surround yourself with people who are at that level so they can help sustain you when these type of things come upon you. You have to surround yourself with people who are stronger than you so they can help you get to where they are. If you purpose in your life that you want to be stronger, or you want more strength, or you want more faith, then you have to be surrounded by people who house that faith, who house that strength. You can't hang around people that are having pity parties all the time and saying, woe is me, because the same thing is going to transfer to you. You have to hang around people who are elevated in Christ, who really have that word embedded in their heart. And so they are able to minister to you to help you get through those times, so that when it happens, you don't crash and burn. You just have to switch up your surroundings, and you got to change your circle. That's just the way it is. That's just real talk.
Right.
You can't hang around people that have having pity parties all the time and don't have no strength, don't have no hope. And I mean, what are they gonna do for you?
Exactly. So we've had some good feedback from the chat tonight. Everybody's really enjoyed this show. Again, please tell people where they can follow you at.
You can follow me on social media. Facebook is my name, Ketrice Keys. You can follow me on Instagram, Ketrice Keys 2000. Let's see what else. Oh, I have the podcast Spitting Fire with Catrice, and I also have a Facebook group that's entitled Spitting Fire with Catrice, and you can join that group. And I post daily encouragement, daily words to keep you going. I mean, it's just something that we need in this time that we're living in. There's so much stuff on social media. If I can just post one thing for one person to be able to say, you know what, I can make it through. That's what Spitting Fire with Catrice is all about. So join the group. I won't spam you, but I just like to encourage people. I just like to let people know that there is hope. I've gone through, man, this is just one part of my story with the pandemic, but if you really, know it all, you'd be like, why ain't she crazy? And it's only because of the word of God, and it's only because of the love of God and the love of women that I've surrounded myself with, that build one another up and say, look, we got you, sis. We understand you can't pray right now. We understand you're sick right now. We got you. We're going to carry you. And that's what we need. That's what everybody needs, Yeah. Absolutely. So it's been an amazing journey, and I know my journey ain't over. I know it's going to be some more trials and tribulations, but as long as I got Jesus, I'm going to be okay. And people, that's right. It's going to be all right. And people like you, it's going to be all right.
Yes. And let's see your beautiful family. And there go your sister, your mama, and your daddy. May they forever rest in power, because they definitely have left us with a jewel, and I'm pretty sure because we see it through you and I hope you always be encouraged on your journey and know that power comes from what? Pain. You never know the opposite until you do the opposite. You never be grateful for a good day until you went through a what? bad
A
day.
bad
So I just
day.
need you to go on and hold on out there, Catrice. And it said you can't get hope from the hopeless, Miss
That's
Dope
right.
Discussions, Erica. Then it said, Visionary, thank you for sharing your heart. That's Queen Cole. Thank you,
Hey,
Queen
Queen
Cole.
Cole.
And Miss C. Monroe, she said, Amen. We thank you all for the chats. And we want you to say, you fight the good fight. Since you go on and
That's
run
right.
that race. You understand what I'm saying? Because you know, like my good old grandma for Women's Month, she said, honey, keep on running because something is at the
Keep
end.
on
It's going to be
running.
waiting for me. It's going to be waiting for
Yes.
me and it's waiting for you, sis. So I thank you
Yes.
so much. My love is with you. Miss Simmons said, so proud of you. Naja Simmons, and we want to
That's
thank
my
you for
daughter.
yeah, hey Naja, and we want to she thanking her mama for Women's Day for showing you what a woman says. Hey, I might have went through bitter days, I might have went through bad days, but it made me better and it made me more
That's
powerful
right.
because I have the
That's
joy
right.
of God. And I'm not only forged by the fire, but I'm built God tough. You all right with me,
Come on.
Catrice? All right. So bye. Thank you, Catrice.
Thank you so much, Tiffany.
And thank you all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all before. And again, get this book broken, y'all. 7 Steps to Healing. Let me see. While grieving, this is the book to put me on the map about grief. It definitely is. I say it's a prophecy in this book. It's encouragement in this book to help you get through the grieving stages. Also, let me give a shout out to these ladies. Right here. Not right here. Well, Women's Day was yesterday. Happy Women's Day to everybody that's doing a great job. Women, just being a woman, you should celebrate that. But definitely celebrate this Kish Magazine Top 23 Women of Inspiration, which I was a part of, and also part of my team, which is Miss Cheryl Monroe with Visionary Shamika niece, and also Miss Kishma George. We really thank you for being a part of this. This was so awesome. And also share your love, share lunch with a woman this month. Buy a little gas for a woman. I said buy some gas now. Okay. Do something. Flowers, whoever that special woman. It could be your friend, auntie, mama, cousin, whoever. Just show a woman that you really appreciate her. You appreciate her friendship or anything else. Thank you for always tuning in. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And I thank you for all the love that's been shown to Tiffany Talks, because this is going to be an awesome, awesome, awesome season 4. And where we are definitely having real conversations. Real conversation. And we're going to be back next Wednesday with Miss Tania Thomas. Next Wednesday now. I want to see you back. And make sure you subscribe and make sure you share this video with someone who needs to hear this message today. And this has been your girl, Tiffany S. Carter, where real conversations are happening. And guess what? You were just a part of the conversation. Thank you and have a great night and rest of the weekend. You guys be safe.